fear will whisper worst case scenarios. And as human beings, that's tough because I feel like that happens to a lot of people because we're just not used to building that muscle, how to respond muscle, I guess. And same thing what happened with the guys on the boat. That's the first thing that probably came up in their minds, right? Like, what is the worst case scenario? We're gonna drown. We're gonna fall. This boat's gonna ship. How do you approach that? And what's your, I want to say tactic, but how do you approach something like that for people that aren't,
Okay. Trust the process. So you still have to have faith in a storm. There's no way around it. You see the movies all the time that are not spiritual. There's a Godzilla's flying a truck at you and the guy is praying behind the truck. Faith comes out in fear, man. Like, now I want to say faith comes out in fear, but I want to say the God that you didn't think existed comes out in fear. You could be an atheist, but as soon as you're about to die, you're going to cry out to God. You know what I mean? And that's pretty standard. What we see as human beings is like when you're in those circumstances. So faith is always going to take, or your trust in something is always going to take place. But practically, man, like, I say that to say that God, whether you believe in him or not, is parenting and teaching you and carrying you along your path your whole life. And when you have a storm that he's allowing, you have to trust the process as much as you can, because that's all you have, right? Whatever you have is resources, whatever you've learned. So you have to react and trust the process. If you react out of panic, you're not going to abide by the process. That's military, right? Military trains you to just trust what you're trained to do. And trust you'll get through it. And I think it's any little thing that we're in business, man. When you put a process together, you have to fully fulfill it and trust it. And then if it doesn't work, you come back like, what did the storm knock off? You'll never know if you don't fully go through with the process.
That's good.
And then in the midst of it, be okay to pivot. Like, if the process is to run to the shelter, underground shelter, open the doors, and you're running, and then there's a flying roof panel flying at you, you're not just gonna let it hit you because my SOP says run to that. Right. So you got to be ready to pivot too. So a lot of times you'll have to pivot and just trust your instincts in the moment, man. And it's really just trusting the process in a full degree. But there are ways I've put discernment triggers that I've learned to apply, that people can apply. And I think it starts with how to recognize a storm, where you're at in the storm, and then how to respond to those.
That's good. I like that we're here because in a portion of the chapter, it talks about you and Tiffany's kind of, not revelation, but something like you mentioned. You have to go through the process in order to find out, what needs to be worked on, or what muscles need to be built up, or what needs to be cut off. There's one portion that it's I think this is probably the best one for myself, which was the power of waking Jesus out of faith and not fear. And it says, fear says, do you care? Like, you're waking up Jesus, like, don't you care? Like, there's a storm. That's out of fear, right? But versus waking Jesus up and saying, hey, Jesus, we need your help or whatnot. And I think that perspective change, or that line here is just helped me shift, your it kind of shows what you need to work on, or what you should continue to work on, which is waking him up out of trust and knowing that he's going to take care of it, or you're panicking, you're waking him up, And I thought that was so good. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, looking at the story, I've heard a lot of, people in the faith say, they failed by waking him up. Like, they should have just kind of laid on the pillow with him, which,
interesting. Okay.
And so, like, not waking him up and just having faith and riding out. But then that's like taking the horn, by yourself, right? Yeah. And so I think waking him up was key. Like, I think that's what he wanted. I think he wanted you to wake him up, but not wake him up out of fear.
That's good.
Wake him up out of faith. And in circumstances I'm in, and this is real spiritual, and relationship is where, you get into a storm, and I'm going to trust the processes and do everything I know to do with the boat, the business, to keep it afloat. But I won't shy away from, I'd immediately get in my closet and pray to wake him up. wake them up out of faith. So the way I deliver my prayer is not out of fear, it's out of faith. I know you're going to, take care of us in this storm. I know you're going to do this, but I want to show you that I know that, and that's my relationship to him, is just actively, verbally praying already what I believe is going to happen and praising him for it already before it does. So it's a faith movement, right? On waking up Jesus is, I want to say this, man, don't think about, you want to try to balance, or not even balance, but you want to wake them out of faith, not fear. But at the end of the day, just wake them up, man. You know what I mean? Like don't not wake him up. Don't try to take the helm and run the ship on your own. If I were to close with anything, man, I don't care if you're screaming, cussing, you're in your garage, you're out in an open field, and you just cannot handle the storm or the weight you're in, and it's way out of your control. Whatever it is, wake him up. Wake him up. Whether it's fear, pain, whatever it is, just scream and just say, Jesus, wake up, I need you. Builder of all things. The God, when we say builder of all things, we're saying he's the builder and creator and designer and ultimate, just operator of everything that we rest our feet on daily, and gravity and universe. If he is holding all these things together and allowing the earth to just rotate so perfectly, in the balance between the sun and how far we are. I mean, just thinking about Antarctica and below. If you look at it's frozen on the top and bottom of the axis, and then it's at this perfect temperature in Hawaii at 70, 80, 90 degrees. The pivotal point of that possibility is so pinpoint exact in the universe for survival, that he's operating for storms to constantly cleanse and repair and replenish the earth. That when it's the same thing in our lives, that we have to have storms to replenish, to redirect, to reroute, to rebuild. And so when a storm comes, praise God. And it sucks, but wake him up. Wake him up. That's what he's waiting on. Wake him up. When you wake him up, he will calm it. And then he'll give you what you need to rebuild. For those guys on the boat, they needed to work on their faith. Right?
Yeah.
He just told them what they need to work on. Ye a little faith.
That's true.
That's what you need to work on.
That's true. Yeah.
That's what the storm was for. That's what you need to work on. Wake them up.
Wake 'em up.
Wake them up.